Every business has an ambition. PayPal Open is the platform designed to help you grow into yours. With business loans so you can expand and access to hundreds of millions of PayPal customers worldwide. And your customers can pay all the ways they want with PayPal, Venmo, Pay Later, and all major cards, so you can focus on scaling up. When it's time to get growing, there's one platform for all business. PayPal Open. Grow today at paypalopen.com. Loans subject to approval in available locations.
What if the greatest opportunity in your business right now isn't more marketing, but making what you already offer more accessible? Today, Angela Fowler joins me to talk about the competitive power of inclusion and why accessibility is your business's hidden edge. We'll talk about it right after this.
Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Nevr Work, an award-winning podcast where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
Thank you very much for tuning in today. So we're going to ask the fabulous Angela Fowler, are you or are businesses unintentionally closing the door on customers simply because their business isn't built on inclusion?
Well, it's an education problem. Nobody's trying to discriminate. It's an education problem. People don't know. People don't think about. People look at life through the lens of their own experience, right? So if you're a sighted person that uses a mouse, that's who you're going to design for, unless something or someone like me, for example, comes along and broadens that lens. I was trying to build a pre-registration form for one of the coaching groups that I've got coming up this fall, and I was using a form plugin.
Okay.
And I added a text field, right? Because I wanted the user to be able to tell me what company they worked for. But the item to edit the label, so it doesn't just say text input field, very helpful, was not keyboard accessible. So, as a blind person, I use a keyboard. There's a lot of sighted people who, maybe they don't have the manual dexterity, they use a keyboard. A lot of people choose to use a keyboard. So by not having that component keyboard accessible, they are preventing a significant number of people from being able to use their plugin. And I wonder how many of the forms that I come across that aren't accessible or that have unhelpful form labels are that way because the plugin that the developer is trying to use is inaccessible and they just kind of said to heck with it.
Interesting. So do you think that people are intentionally doing this, or do you think that it's just a situation where, they just take it for granted that the people that's going to use their product are a certain way?
They take it for granted. Ignorance meets carelessness. And sometimes people design for what they see before they design for function. And I tell people, design for function first, and then you don't paint your house before you build it. You build your house first, and then you paint it and decorate it and do all that stuff. But you got to build the thing first. The same goes for your digital presence.
And I think one of the challenges, because I do website design, that's when I started my company. And originally, as you stated, because it was not in the forefront of my mind, but I had to, as you stated, learn about it over time, to understand the importance of accessibility, making sure that the pictures have the right wording and all these type of functions, right? And sometimes if you're not taught, even because I did go to school, I went to school for it. And even from a school formal place of teaching, it wasn't even taught in that situation. So,
Yep. It almost never is.
mm-hmm.
And this is why I don't fault the designers and developers, because they're not taught. Now, when they are taught and they still continue to design inaccessible, material, then okay, then you what are you doing here?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
you go to school to learn web design, web development.
Right.
You take a web design course, and it doesn't include accessibility. That's that's a problem, because it's not going to be placed, as you say, in the forefront of your mind. Now,
Right.
if accessible techniques were built into that course, if when you read about how to build something using JavaScript,
Mm-hmm.
if it says to insert the proper keyboard handlers so you can actually press enter on the thing to make it work instead of being restricted to the use of a mouse, then people are going to be more likely to do that automatically.
Mm-hmm. 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 And I think those are things that we don't. As I'm listening to you, and I do have a client who deals with individuals, and I say deal with because she's trying to handle this company because of the love of her son, and so she still struggles a little bit with some of her emotions, but he has to he is intellectually disabled, and so with that, she has to kind of bring herself back a little bit, because she's a mom. I mean, and she really cares, right? And so that's why I use that word deal with, because sometimes she loses focus on that, and so of handling business along with handling the parent side of that, or the familiar side of that. So how would you advise someone to deal with the emotions in that type of situation? Because it's not always easy to do.
It's tough, even for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I was trying to put that form together, I just got so frustrated because,
Mm-hmm.
this should have been a few minutes work. And I eventually had to hire someone else to do it, because I just said, I'm over this. I've had it. And this was a work project. It wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
it's not something that, something to do with your kids that really stirs up the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm advocating on behalf of somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
I'm cool, calm, collective, objective, assume good faith unless proven otherwise, take the perspective of the other person, that sort of thing. So it's always, I think we need to, sometimes you just got to let somebody else advocate for you.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that, that Real Life Access does with our affiliate program is,
Mm-hmm.
if you make that first contact, you can then send them to us, and we will do the teaching.
Mm-hmm. So how important is education and making sure that these organizations are properly educated right now? I mean, and it's across the board. So how important is this really? Because like you stated, everyone is not there, and they're dealing with what they're dealing with personally, but not trying to be more inclusive with everybody else. So how important is education?
Well, there's at least 1 million people in the United States alone that require screen readers, that can't use their eyes and a mouse. I should say our eyes and a mouse.
Mm-hmm.
All told, the people, the disabled people make up about 25% of the population. And that includes, motor disabilities,
Mm-hmm.
cognitive, attention, everything.
Right.
So, it is important. And, it's not, people don't go around shouting about their disabilities. Well, most people don't. You
You're
do
right.
have the ones that do that. kind of get on everybody's nerves.
Right.
But most people try to be as quote unquote normal as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to see 25% of the people you see out there with an obvious disability. Besides, most disabilities are invisible. So people need to learn how to design for everybody by default.
Mm-hmm.
Not just for one group of people. And when you do that, disability becomes less and less relevant.
Mm-hmm.
If I could build that form.
Every business has an ambition. PayPal Open is the platform designed to help you grow into yours. With business loans so you can expand and access to hundreds of millions of PayPal customers worldwide. And your customers can pay all the ways they want with PayPal, Venmo, Pay Later, and all major cards, so you can focus on scaling up. When it's time to get growing, there's one platform for all business. PayPal Open. Grow today at paypalopen.com. Loans subject to approval in available locations.
If the form builder were accessible, it doesn't matter if I'm blind, sighted, have two heads, whatever.
Right.
Who cares? I built the form.
Mm-hmm.
But because the form was inaccessible, my blindness became, it got in the way. Or the lack of accessibility of the form caused my blindness to get in the way.
Mm.
Now, luckily I have the resources to outsource the project, but if the form was accessible, the project would have been done 3 days ago. So now I'm dependent on, I'm working on, somebody else's timetable instead of my own, which is,
right.
That's what happens when you hire somebody to do something. That's just, cost of doing business. But if the form was accessible, I wouldn't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
The form builder, I should say.
Mm-hmm. You gave a stat of 25% of people have a disability. And sometimes you don't really think it's that high. Because
it doesn't look that common.
Right. Because as you stated, it's not always seen. Like you don't always see it and you don't always hear it. So how do we respect everyone on the same playing field, regardless if you have a disability or not? Because I think it's all about respecting that next person regardless of the situation, right? So how can we even teach something like that? Because you never know who has a disability or not.
Right. And you design and develop properly from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if a building is built so that it's wheelchair accessible, then how many people using wheelchairs actually come through the door doesn't matter, because when they do, they're able to access it equal to everybody else.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a very good point, because if it's already there, you don't have to invest any more money, right? Or resources.
Not only that, but you don't have to worry about ADA complaints. You don't
Right.
have to worry about angry customers coming up to you because they can't access your website or your premises or whatever the thing is. If you learn and take to heart the principles of accessibility that Real Life Access teaches,
Mm-hmm.
they become second nature.
Mm-hmm.
Accessibility becomes second nature. And you don't. I'm not going to say you don't have to worry about it, because you still have to worry about it, but there isn't this panic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, what happens if I say, hey, especially if I'm building a website from scratch, I don't have the resources to pay someone another $5,000 to $10,000 to write in that code, like you said, with JavaScript or whatever, iframe, whatever it might have been. So how could I, or what resources are out there that I can use to ensure that my website, something like my website, like you said, my digital footprint, is accessible if I don't have that resource to have someone to recode my website?
Well, that's a good question. And that's why I like to teach people how to code accessibly,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a gap between the way a lot of people code and the accessible way to code.
Mm-hmm.
And a few hours consulting with me and you bridge that gap versus, like you say, paying somebody 10 grand to remediate your website.
Mm-hmm.
I also have what I call a harm reduction audit, which basically I look at your website. I run an automatic accessibility checker. I look at your website with a screen reader, and I give you the most impactful fixes that you need to make.
Mm-hmm.
And I give you some resources on how to make them. And oftentimes what you learn how to make those fixes, you learn how to make other fixes.
Mm-hmm.
Now I also have a tail end to appetite audit of your website, which is it's comprehensive. It's a lot more in depth. It's a lot more expensive, but if you're a small business, if you're on a budget, sometimes the harm reduction audit is it's a good first step.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that, especially for those individuals who think, hey, you know what? I'm going to I'm going to build a website using one of these websites or website providers that where you can just build it on your own, right? Plug and play, drag and drop, things like that. But some of those do not have those resources built inside of it. And so how do they ensure that they can even that their stuff is user accessible, even in something as simple as that, especially in this world of, hey, you could do it on your own?
Well, you use WordPress. For two reasons. One, WordPress builds accessibility into their core more so than any of the other providers. And if you make a mistake, if you build something that isn't accessible, it's a lot easier to fix it. I've had clients or potential clients that use Wix,
Mm-hmm.
and if you make a mistake, it's nearly impossible to fix it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So WordPress has it has the drag and drop builder. You can code to your heart's content. It's really flexible in terms of you can do a combination of both.
Mm-hmm.
Like like I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you want to just a quick do-it-yourself website, use WordPress.
Okay. And so because of that, should I start to utilize, if I'm a small business, should I use a professional to start building my digital footprint, even though I don't have the skills to really do it, and to keep all these things in mind, something as this?
You could, but teach a man to fish, you feed him for life. So if I built your website for you, there's going to come a time when you're going to want to update something.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know accessibility, you could unintentionally break something. If I teach you how to build a website accessibly, if I teach you the basic principles of accessibility, either through one-on-one consulting or my group coaching or just, it's a done with you model.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then when you update something, you don't have to pay me to fix it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. And I brought that up because you have people starting businesses very, very often. And sometimes they tell you, just build a website, the build it and they'll come mentality. But as you're stating, it's not always that simple, to be honest.
Well, they don't realize how flawed some of these tools are.
Right. Right.
You know, you would think that you'd be able to throw a website together using Wix or the GoDaddy website builder or any of these other things. You would think that the designers of those tools would have built accessibility into them
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because they are household names in the website builder space. You would
Right.
think that they would know. But they didn't learn it in code school either.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They have the same problem you do.
Right. Right.
And nobody has been able to, that I'm aware of, nobody has been able to engage in productive conversation with them. Because they're kind of insular because there's a layer of separation between the customer and the website builder.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
And that layer of separation is the business.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see a website that's inaccessible, you're going to yell at the business because you don't know it's the website builder's problem. The business owner probably doesn't know it's the website. So the discussion ends there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's funny that you said that because it makes me think about whether or not Dreamweaver or Front Page had these features built in. I don't remember. Yeah. I don't remember. So it's been going on for quite some time. And for those of you who don't know Front Page, I mean, that's probably before half of y'all were born out there, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, Angela, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing this information because these are things that a lot of people that's in this industry and in this space want to be an entrepreneur, and they don't put this concern of everyone, you know, at the forefront because it's across the board. And like you said, it's things that we see, some things we don't see, some things we hear, some things we don't hear. We don't understand everybody's level because even if they can see, that doesn't mean that they read on a second grade level either. Right?
Exactly.
You get what I mean?
My day job, I work for a government entity.
Okay.
And they love their acronyms.
Mm.
And I'm like, I don't understand this. If I don't understand it, then how do you expect someone who doesn't work for the government to understand it?
Right. Right. You know, but you know, I appreciate you coming on. Please, Angela, please share with everyone where they can find out your information. If they need to be coached on this, how to get their website together or even their social media presence overall. Where can they find you and talk to you?
Absolutely. So go to www.reallifeaccess.com and you'll find my calendar link there. You'll find my coaching and one-on-one consulting and things that I do. All my socials are there. All the things.
Nice. And of course, Angela, I'm going to have all that information in the show notes as well. So just in case for those of you who needs the link directly, it will be in the show notes. So, but Angela, before I let you go, I have one more question for you. Mm-hmm. Would you rather, is my world famous would you rather question. And use your imagination, okay? So, would you rather choose 3 doors or a fork in the road? There's no right or wrong. You know, it's just for fun.
3 doors.
Okay.
I have a 33% chance of getting it right.
Okay.
A fork in the road, I have a 50% chance of getting it right. So there you go.
Okay.
I tend to be an overthinker, so the more options you give me, the longer. My mom actually bought me a sweatshirt a couple years back that said, "Hold on while I overthink."
That's funny. That's funny. But you know, I appreciate you playing with the game, using your imagination, and you know, I thank you very much for coming on the show, Angela.
Now, 2 roads converged in some kind of wood. I can't remember how that goes, and sorry I could not travel both.
Look, some of us can't even travel the first. Because we're, like you said, overthinking it, can't make up our minds. Listen, I have a hard time trying to get my kids to make a decision on dinner. So going
out to dinner with my son is a painful experience, right? I know, and here I just said I was an overthinker. Not when it comes to food.
Really?
I know exactly what I want before I even get to the restaurant. This kid has to sit there and look at the menu for a half hour. I'm like gonna waste away here.
Right. That's funny. That's funny. I know that feeling. I definitely know that feeling. But thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And of course, thank y'all for listening to That Will Nevr Work podcast. And I will talk to you just a little bit later.
Thanks for listening. Follow Maurice Chism on social media to stay connected and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work. Or will it?
Every business has an ambition. PayPal Open is the platform designed to help you grow into yours. With business loans so you can expand and access to hundreds of millions of PayPal customers worldwide. And your customers can pay all the ways they want with PayPal, Venmo, Pay Later, and all major cards, so you can focus on scaling up. When it's time to get growing, there's one platform for all business. PayPal Open. Grow today at paypalopen.com. Loans subject to approval in available locations.